If there was a way to move Afghan farmers from growing poppies to growing other crops, the benefit to the country and to the world would be immense. This is the vision of one man, James Brett, the founder of Plant for Peace.
Today, from how many people have come, it's clear that we need this new beginning. We need to join together. It's clear after all the years of trouble, the wars, 30-something years of trouble in Afghanistan, it's clear we need this new strength, this new energy. I believe the tribal system and the farmers of Afghanistan are this energy.
You're going to hear from a most remarkable person, James Brett. He's modest. He's going to tell you his life story as how he came to Afghanistan to create this most extraordinary initiative. And I'm sure you will be moved and extremely interested by what he has to say. James, thank you.
Thank you, thanks. So how did it all happen? How did I get to that point in my life that happened? So I'm going to tell you my story. I drove up through the Khyber Pass, which is the first time I entered Afghanistan. And it was April, it was opium harvest time, and I got to 40 minutes into Afghanistan, the Pakistan side of Jalalabad. There was just fields of opium everywhere. And I thought, I've got to do something about this, but who am I to do something about it? And I gave a speech and everything, and which was obviously translated. And then about 15 elders gave speeches, and then they deliberated for like 4 or 5 hours. It was pretty mad. They cooked loads of goat and rice. It was like almost biblical, and it was all pretty surreal. I took a couple of pictures, and that picture ended up on BBC World News and CNN and everything. And then a film crew did an interview the next day, and I ended up in a studio in Jalalabad. And they said, the interview really was, the only question they asked me, what are you doing here? I said, my answer was, this country needs to grow more pomegranates. I'd like to talk to your president about it. They probably just thought I was nuts. I mean, they didn't know my history, but I probably was nuts. We had a first gathering. There's about 400 elders there, and they agreed. It was unanimous. They said we want to have a normal livelihood. And after about 4 or 5 hours of them all deliberating, about 11 elders gave speeches, and then Shimari gave a speech, and he addressed me and he said, "It's unanimous that we all want to do it. We all want to do create a normal industry and everything." But the reason we accept you is that you haven't come here with a badge, a gun, or a uniform. Like, thank you so much. And everyone shook my hand, and people who've been to Afghanistan know if there's serious respect, that they shake your hand and they put their other hand on your heart. And I met 100 elders in the Spingar Hotel in Jalalabad, and one of them was a member of the Taliban in the eastern area, Tagawi he came from. Not far from Sarubi in eastern Afghanistan, and he stood up and gave a speech, and he said, as a child I remember picking wild pomegranates on the hills of Afghanistan. He said, you know what I represent, but I welcome this man to my area and I guarantee his safety. And he said this project could bring back some heritage to Afghanistan. And the phone rings when I'm in Paris, and it was a chap called Lord Reading from England, and he said, I'd like to get involved with your project. And I said, I'll come and meet you then. And he lived in Cirencester, which is just up the road from Swindon. And I flew into Bristol Airport, and he picked me up. And he's a pretty eccentric character. He didn't bother about red lights and things like that. And was just carried on. And we got to Cirencester. It's quite funny. He said, have you ever been here before? Like that. And he speaks quite properly. Have you ever been here before? I said, actually, I used to come here shoplifting, And his response was, oh, bloody marvellous. He said, never had the opportunity myself. So commercially, Plant for Peace creates products, value-added products, because pomegranates, as I said, don't grow in all the provinces, and we've created a horticultural strategy. So whether it's almonds, mulberry, walnuts, apricots, whatever it is that we can grow there, we're going to create products from it and launch them in the international supermarkets. And every single product we sell, we will grow a tree in Afghanistan. This is probably the last thing I'm going to share to you. I have a great life today. I have an amazing life. I'm one of the most fortunate people you'll ever meet. I wouldn't change my life for anything, I had lunch with Dr. Ghani, Dr. President Ashraf Ghani, about 2 years ago in his house, before he was ever thinking of it. And he told me then that Plant for Peace was a very viable dream for Afghanistan, And dreams, if you believe, can become reality. And that's my story. Thanks.